everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have wanted to film a homeware focused Q&A video for a while. So I'm in my living room. This room is almost finished, but not quite finished. Got a couple more weeks to wait. But I thought I would change things up and do it a little bit more relaxed and just sit in here with you and go through the hundreds of messages that I've had. And I haven't even gone through to look at the ones that I got loads of. So I'm just gonna work my way through and I'm gonna go through and just pick out questions. Usually I would go through before and pick out the ones that I thought were really good and that I wanted to answer. We're just gonna freestyle and we are gonna talk for as long as we need to talk, and then we're gonna pick the very best of the best, basically. So I'm gonna be telling you absolutely everything about my kind of homeware renovation, first kind of renovatable house journey, I guess, and telling you the God's honest truth about the whole thing. So the gloves are off. I will tell you absolutely everything about how it's been, what I've learned, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the goddamn truth. So without further ado, I'm going to pick up where I left off with my questions. I popped this up on my Instagram feed, on my Instagram stories, and basically asked you to ask me questions. So let's get to it. First question I think is a really good one. Might be a bit boring and not too juicy for some people, but the first question is, what are your favourite furniture shops? I haven't been able to say what my favourite furniture shops are for a while because I didn't actually know what they were. Now I know, and I found some really good kind of niche ones and also some mainstream ones, and then also places to get like much better price stuff. So lower budget, mid-tier, and that kind of thing. So I would say lowest budget wise, to find really good decorative pieces and fabrics and things like that, like cushions and throws, I would say places like H&M Home are amazing. La Redoute, although I feel like La Redoute's prices can be a little bit up there as well, so I'd say they're a little bit more mid-tier. Amazing. Also, I would say Zara Home is a really good place to get some different pieces for a really good price. More mid-tier, I would say, is your La Redoute, John Lewis, and also Neptune, although Neptune can be a little bit expensive as well. And then up there with my sort of higher end ones, definitely Ochre. Oh my goodness, absolutely amazing. Ochre, Neptune, for some really different and sort of pieces that have a little bit of a story behind them. I love going shopping places like the Old Flight House. We went there recently and I fell in love. It's near Bicester. If you have a chance to go, please go, because it is the most magical place and the owners are amazing. I just love it there. So I will link all of those places in the description box down below if you want to go and check them out, because I really, really like those places. By the way, that question was from Kitty Rose Rattle, FYI. Next up, ooh, this question is from hattie.poppy_, and she says, have you wasted any money? That is a good question, because I think that people are quite quick to think that if you don't like something, you feel like you wasted it, and I don't actually feel like I've wasted much money. There are some pieces that I think, okay, that was a mistake and I've learnt from it, so it doesn't really feel like a waste. I'm trying to put these positive spins on things. Wasting money, the main thing that I feel was the biggest hindrance was that we were trying to make good of someone else's like home initially, and that was the thing that I wish that I hadn't done. I wish I'd just gone in and changed everything that I wanted to change from the word go, and that would have been a lot better. But I don't generally feel like I've wasted money, because even if I feel like I've bought something that I didn't like, I will always either sell it on or paint it and turn it into something else. And yeah, so I don't really feel like I ever have had that feeling of like, I've wasted money there, because it never feels like the end of the story just because I don't like it, if that makes sense. Next question, who are your home interior inspirations? Oh, good question. I mainly get my inspiration for my home from Pinterest and Instagram. Instagram is probably my favorite because you see the spaces actually in real life. So the people's homes that I follow, I get to see what they look like in a way that you don't see on Pinterest, because on Pinterest I've had to start looking at things slightly differently, because on Pinterest, I don't know how they do it. They take a picture and it can be of like a white bed in a blue room with a really nice side table, and it looks like it just fell off the pages of Vogue Living, and in reality, when you put that in your home, it doesn't look like that. You don't get that vibe because it's all in the post-production and the editing. So I really like to follow accounts that I can see how they're working their space and they're living in their space. So anyway, to cut to the chase, I love following Brick by Brick on Instagram. She's also like my spirit human when it comes to shopping. I love her so much. I love Sarah Jane COPESTAKE. Obviously, you know, I love that girl so much. Cotswold Interiors. I love that page. Such like Cotswoldy vibes and country, like modern country living, which then brings me to, I love following THYME. THYME is actually a place that you can visit in the Cotswolds, and that was the place that I went to when I realized what my interior style was, because I walked in there and it felt like home, and that's the first time I'd been there since I had a home that I could kind of play around with. And so when I walked in there, I was just like, oh, this is it, this is my style. So definitely follow THYME on Instagram because their owners, like eye for interiors is insane. So every corner is just beautiful. So yeah, definitely follow them. Who else do, oh my God, there's so many home accounts. I'm gonna go through my feed on Instagram and I'm gonna put loads of places in the description box down below so that you can go and find who I like and who I follow on there because they're so, so good. So yeah, that's how I get like my inspiration and stuff like that. Next up, oh, okay, this is from Emily Jane Gower, and it says, when designing the interior of a particular room, for example, living room, where do you start? So I did some reading up about this a while ago, and I wanted to find out the process that most people follow when planning a room. And the first thing that they said was that you choose your fabrics. And I tried that. I tried choosing my fabrics first, and I found it very, very difficult to do it that way. For me, it all starts with a colour, and that's exactly what happened with this room. There was a colour, and I wanted this colour in my home, and then everything else kind of came around it. So from the woods that we've used, like the more grey and neutral toned woods, to the fabrics, which are all again very neutral, almost white. Our new sofas that are coming are a colour called Alabaster from sofa.com, and it's basically going to look white against these walls. And from there I've got a lot of natural fabrics and textures in here, and that all came from picking the colour. So I don't know whether I'm doing that slightly differently. Let me know in the comments if you've planned any rooms, and let me know where you started, because I find it much easier to start with a colour. And I tried doing it that way again on a room that I've just started decorating, one of the guest bedrooms. I tried picking the fabrics first, and I was in the fabric shop and I was like, I mean, I like this fabric, but I don't know what colour the walls are going to be. So yeah, I found that very difficult. So let me know in the comments below, but I always start with the colour that I envision that room to be, and everything builds off of that. But that's such a good question. Thank you, Emily. I really liked that you asked that. Let's get to another one. Which completed room is your favourite and why? That's from Catherine Peacock Bray. So that's another thing that I'm learning. It takes a very, 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 very long time to actually complete a room, and it never ever feels like it's ever complete. Like this room, you look at it and it looks finished pretty much, but we're waiting for the sofas to come, and then I feel like it will be almost done. But then we also want to get some art for in here. So yeah, it's funny because everyone that we've had come over says, oh, it looks finished, but it's just little things like in the downstairs toilet, it's basically finished except there's one light that's missing off the wall. And then down in the hallway downstairs, it looks finished, but there's one picture missing from one of the picture frames. And it's very difficult to tie up all of those loose ends, and you never really feel like you're completely finished. So that's one thing that I would say is difficult to say. But from the rooms that we are where we are with, I would say that, oh gosh, I feel like my favourite room for where I got to have fun would definitely be the downstairs cloakroom, or what people sometimes call the downstairs toilet. I call it the downstairs cloakroom. I don't know why. I've always called it that. But that's where I got to put some wacky wallpaper on the walls and really go all out with my panelling and some really gorgeous like art deco lighting, and I loved it. So yeah, I'd say that's my room where I'm like, got to have fun in there. But this room, the living room, makes me feel so cozy, and having the fire on, I know that when the sofas are here I'm gonna feel so happy. And I love the colour. Everyone walks into this room and goes, oh, this colour. So So I really love this room. Then I love the kitchen because the kitchen has light. So basically I love everything, okay? But there's still so much that's not finished. So when the hallways are finished, I think I'll love the hallways. And yeah, just so much love. Ooh, next up, what is the most expensive thing to have done? That's from Alex LJD. Now, I'm guessing that she means, have we done in this house? What's the most expensive thing that we have done? The most expensive thing that we have done is probably the staircases. Having those done was a huge, huge expense, but so worth it now. Now that I look at that area, oh, it looks incredible. I love it so much. Even though it's not even finished painting, it starts being painted on Monday, so there's still a lot of work there, but just looking at it makes me so happy. So happy. The most expensive thing that I did was my dressing room. That was a huge, huge, huge expense, and if you've watched all of my sort of home videos, you'll know that I didn't really enjoy the process, and I had a company that I really just didn't gel with and I wouldn't recommend to anyone. And I always get people messaging me saying, did you use this company? Would you recommend them? Because I don't want to use them. If you think that my dressing room was made by a certain company, go with that and don't use them. That's all I would say. Yeah, I found them really difficult and it was a really heartbreaking process. And I would say that that's the one thing that I regret, is that it almost leaves like a bitter taste in your mouth. The fact that something that you dreamed of being so amazing and so perfect, and you saved up so much of your money to have the process be so unenjoyable. And literally there's bits of it that aren't finished because communication just broke down so much with that company that I just couldn't have them in my house. I couldn't speak to the guy. I couldn't do anything. So I took it on the chin and just accepted that this was the way that it was, and didn't allow them to come back, because it even got to the point where he was sending like legal letters because he thought I was probably going to take him to court or something. And it was just a horrible experience. So that was because obviously I paid for my dressing room. That was my most expensive thing and my most heartbreaking thing. And this wasn't about what was heartbreaking. There's a lot of questions in here that are, what's your biggest regret? And I would definitely say that my dressing room is my biggest regret, in the sense that I went with the company that I looked at face value and thought was amazing, and they just turned out to be not that at all. And they really weren't open to the criticism either, which is so hard, because I'm not like someone that just picks faults in things. You know, as a fully paying customer, I'm trying to tell you what I'm not happy with, and you won't accept what I'm not happy with. And so, yeah, that was that. But I obviously can't speak about that on the internet because I'm frightened to, first of all, because I don't want to have any kind of legal battle on my hands. So, you know, when you do message me and I don't answer, that will be why. And second of all, you know, when you kind of want to forget about something, but at the same time you don't want anyone to anyone else to ever go through that, because when it's supposed to be like so magical, and it wasn't, and it's a sad thing. So I wouldn't want anyone to go through that. Sad times. Anyway, that was the biggest explanation on that ever. Charlotte Brand has asked, any advice on budgeting? There's actually a lot of questions about budgeting in here. And budgeting is such a difficult one, because I feel like people want me to give them the answer to how you can like afford all of the nice things that you want, and that's what will come under budgeting. But I mean, there's amazing apps out at the moment that allow you to budget according to what your like budget is, basically, and software that helps you organize your budgets and your interior projects in that way. For me, we have a budget set for like per room or per project, and that's how we work towards things. So we recently realized that we were nearing the limits of our budgets, but then we had some good karma and now we've got a little bit more money. So that's why we're able to do the paneling in the hallways, because we had some good karma come in, and that's that. But in terms of budgeting, I take it each room at a time, and if I'm able to save money on one thing and then put more money to another thing, that's how I do that. It all comes down to your budgets, and if there's one thing I've learned from this, everyone has different budgets when it comes to renovating. Everyone earns differently, everyone spends differently, everyone prioritizes certain things differently. I prioritize the look and feel of my furniture above anything else. So I realised quite early on that as amazing as IKEA furniture is, I don't like how it feels, if that makes any sense. Something like a really robust, solid wooden drawer, I love. I love opening a good drawer, if that makes sense. So I really like strong, sturdy, sometimes older furniture. I'm really trying to bring a lot of older pieces that maybe I can revamp and put in to the house. That's what I'm kind of searching for at the moment. But other people have different budgets, and there are so many amazing ways in which you can save, even just from like paint wise. I love Farrow & Ball paint, and I know that our decorators love working with it, and they're a brand that I feel fits my home really well. But other people see Farrow & Ball paint, it's expensive. You can take it and go and get it mixed by a cheaper paint brand, and you can save money in that respect. I think Dulux, you can literally take them any colour and they can mix it bespoke there and then. So that's some ways that you can get that kind of luxury on-trend paint colour, but for slightly less. So there's always ways that you can twist and save and budget accordingly. Ugh, my nose is itching so much, guys. So sorry. Ah! Oh, Toby's home. Which do you prefer, ochre or Neptune? I love both too much to decide. I would probably say that I like ochre a little bit more than Neptune because it offers a lot of variety and you can get a lot of different, really different pieces there. Neptune is very modern country minimal, I would say, so you don't necessarily get a lot of statement pieces there, whereas from ochre, wowzers, you can get some amazing statement pieces that really bring a lot of character into your home. So I would go with ochre, but Neptune holds my heart as well. Oh, this one's a bit more of a generic one, but I think that it's really important, so I hope this one helps a lot of people. It says, how to style a small apartment and still look luxury and sophisticated. So you might remember my old home. We moved in and we painted everything white and had a lot of grey in there. If I could go back, I would probably introduce a lot more texture to it, because one thing I've realised, as much as I'm sat in one of my most colourful rooms with all of the blue, I'm much more of a texture person than I am a wild and wacky colour person. And I prefer to introduce different textures and tones rather than lots of different colours. So I've seen Leonie from Eau Couture. She has a really beautiful but quite small apartment in Notting Hill, and in her apartment it's all very neutral, light creams, light bright whites, but lots of different textures, wools, throws, cushions, so it's still very soft. Because I would probably say in my old home I was too monochromatic, like it was too cold because there was so much grey and so much white, and I don't like that feeling of coldness. I like warmth and cozy vibes, and I think that Leonie has really hit the nail on the head. It's got quite Scandi minimal vibes in her apartment, but it's brilliant, and she's really nailed it in terms of texture. So if you've got a small space, I would look at light colours but lots of warm texture, creamy goodness. Okay, good question. We get this all the time. This one is from diva_c. I'm wondering, where are all of your radiators hidden in your house? I didn't even spot a single one. That is because on the ground floor and the lower ground floor, the entire floor is underfloor heating. So we don't have any radiators because that is our main source of heating. We have wet underfloor heating as well. There's two different types. There's electric and wet. Ours is wet. It keeps our home so nice and cozy. However, on the top floor, it doesn't have underfloor heating, and we have 3 radiators up there. One on the landing, one in Ali's room, and one in my dressing room. Ali's one is more of a decorative one in his office. Mine is hidden behind a cupboard, so it gives me like a little airing cupboard, warm, cozy thing, which I quite like. And then the other one is on the landing, which you probably wouldn't have seen, but we're going to be covering that up with a really beautiful radiator cover once we have the carpet down. So if you've ever wondered where my radiators are, that is where they are. They are under my feet. Ooh. This is a good one. This one is from Kaka ZZZ, and it says, how do you choose between trendy or classic pieces, how to balance them in your home. So I would say that I'm not a particularly trendy person. So I don't have a lot of like trend driven things in here, if you know what I mean. So color wise, I've gone down the blue rabbit hole, but there's a lot of things that I find are quite trend driven at the moment, like the Laradu rug that loads of people have, which I love. It's such a beautiful rug. It's not my aesthetic. I feel that there's a lot of like mid-century modern stuff that's on trend at the moment, and that's not particularly my style either. And then brass. There's a lot of brass, especially when it comes to handles. Like brass kitchen handles are such a sort of trend thing at the moment. Brass taps, and that's probably something that I'm not that into for my own style. It doesn't necessarily fit with my aesthetic. I went for a very quintessentially British kitchen, like shaker kitchen, and I kept the silver cupped handles and things like that. So I think I'm just more of a classic person, so I would always stick with what suits your style, which mine is not. I'm just not a trendy person, basically. And I think that quite a lot of colour is quite trendy, and I'm very muted, and I keep things, you know, this was a very bold colour choice for me, and it's worked out. It's worked out in my style because I've got a lot of neutral in here as well. So I think the most important thing is just identifying what you like. So do you like more trend driven pieces, or are you more of a classic kind of person, and go with that? That's the best advice that I can give. I think I answered your question. I might have just gone off on a complete and utter tangent. Charlene_Curran has asked your favourite coffee table books and where to find them. Love your page. Thank you, Charlene. So I have an Amazon storefront, which I will link in the description box down below, and I put the majority of my coffee table books, but I have hundreds of coffee table books. Literally, they are everywhere. In my actual coffee table that has these like cute little cubby holes that you can't see, I've got a lot of the natural home coffee table books. There's one from Erin, there's my wedding book and things like that. Then there I can see that I've got This Is Home and Perfect Imperfect. I've got the Francois Nars coffee table book that I got in Bora Bora. I've got Vanity Fair 100 Years. I've got a lot of coffee table books, so they will all be on my Amazon storefront. I'll link it down there, and you can shop all of the coffee table books there, which makes it super easy. And also a few little trinkets that I have around my home. Got a few of those around. Yes, I have. Okay, this person's question is, I can't read their name, it's just r.m and then 145, and it says, what's been your favourite and least favourite part of the process? So I would say my favourite part of this entire process has been discovering my style, because since that moment, discovering everything that I like, knowing what to buy, being able to see things and see how they're going to look in the home, and being able to envision that, and just being able to buy things instantly rather than umming and ahhing about everything. That's what came from me discovering my style, and it's made everything become a lot more cohesive from that point onwards in the house. So there's still things that I may need to adjust for them to fit my style, but it feels like a weight has been lifted, and from that moment really started enjoying the process a lot more. I wasn't enjoying it, I was just finding it really confusing, and nothing I was choosing was going and creating the feel that I wanted. So now it just kind of feels like everything makes sense. My least favourite thing about the process is time. It takes forever to do everything, from painting a room to getting the paneling in to just buying furniture. Everything takes so long when renovating a home, and it's not like shopping online. Shopping online, you can just buy something and it's on your doorstep the next day. That's the kind of shopping I live for. But even just buying a chair, for example, it could take, even if it's just off the rack, it could take 2 weeks to arrive, or it could take 6 months, and you just don't really know, to be honest. And I find that very frustrating because I'm quite an impatient person. I like to see everything together, and it's also really annoying and frustrating when, say, you order something and it arrives and it's just not right. That literally happened today. I ordered our sun loungers for the garden and they arrived and they're just not the right colour. They looked like the right colour online, but as they've arrived, they are not the right colour, so they have to go back, and I've had to order some new ones that weren't in stock at the time, and they were the ones that I wanted, but I've ordered them from Oka, 2 new sun loungers and a coffee table. And yeah, so I've been waiting, and it's supposed to be 25 degrees tomorrow, and I have to send my sun loungers back. But that's one of the frustrating things that I find, is that things arrive. And I think that that is why I kept a lot of furniture that I didn't love and didn't feel right at the time. And that's why today I've been so brutal, and I was like, nope, it has to go back because it doesn't work. Because when I would buy console tables, I'd buy them and I'd put them in their place, and I'd be like, oh, I'm not sure, but we'll see. And then as time goes by, you're like, I should have just sent that back because it actually isn't right. And it's like the console table that I have there now, I look at every single time and I'm like, it's perfect, it works. That's what I was waiting for. So that's my least favourite aspect of it, unfortunately. Megan.br has asked, did you have some disagreements with Ali over the style of the house? Yes, we did. Ali's very visual in the sense that, like, if he sees something he doesn't like, straight away he has to say that he doesn't like it. But a lot of the time with home interiors things, it takes a lot of time for the whole feel of the room to come together. And I have to kind of tell him to be patient, and it's so difficult when I've worked really hard to plan a room and him to just come in and see the colour on the wall and be like, no. And I'm like, no, please just wait. If you watched my last vlog, you would have seen that that's what he did in one of the rooms I've been painting. He came in and he was like, it's magnolia. I'm like, but I'm hoping that as everything comes together in the rooms and he sees all the layers and the textures and the warmth of the room come together, he'll change his mind. Next up we have, this is from Creamy Patterns, and it says, does your interior style change a lot, and how do you stay true to your style? I think my interior, it may have seemed like my interior style changed a lot in the beginning because I had no idea where I was going. I was blind. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what my style was because I'd never had the ability to have a style. And I think I've said this a few times before, but I've never lived in a house that has so much opportunity. I have so much to do in this house. I could do whatever I wanted in here, and I was spoilt for choice, but I didn't know what to choose. But I wanted to be choosing things and I wanted to be making it my own, but I was struggling with how I wanted it to actually look in the end. Now everything's changed, and I think that that's coming across in my content. I think that you can see now that I have confidence and I'm able to make decisions, and I speak with confidence, that even when I'm just styling a console table up, I didn't have a clue about styling anything before. And now I've found my style, and now I can go down into my office, and yeah, it won't take me like 5 seconds, it will take me like a whole day. But I start with one little cubby hole, and then I do another one, and then it just all starts to come together, and I look at it and I'm like, wow, well done me. So yeah, now I've definitely found my style and I feel so much more confident, and that's maybe what was the issue in the beginning, is that I didn't really know what I was doing, and it was all a learning process. But I think that it's important that I've documented that and shared that with you, because I didn't know that it was so hard. And I think that growing up watching changing rooms and seeing all of the renovations that people have done and they've documented online or whatever, you don't necessarily see a lot of the changes and the things that they don't like and things that happen even when you're like completely gutting a house and you put something together and it doesn't work. I follow a few people that have huge multiple £1,000,000 houses and they've put in masses of stuff, and then they've lived in it and they're like, no, it's not right, it's got to go, it's got to change. And I think it's important that maybe these things are shown, despite the backlash that I might have gotten from showing the things that I've changed, which I don't think is, you know, relative. I don't really think it's that bad what I've changed. I know that some people seem to latch on to that, and I get quite defensive with it because I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong by changing my console table 3 times or 4 times or 5 times. I'm learning and I'm enjoying the process, and this is me enjoying my home. But I also want you guys to not watch this content and think that everything has been an absolute walk in the park, because it hasn't. And I've made mistakes and I've put them right, and I have learnt. I wouldn't want you guys to think that you just start renovating your home and it all goes swimmingly, because it's just not always how it happens. I'm sure people do have that, lucky them. But I didn't have that, and I wouldn't want you to think that. I'm not here to put out a perfect representation of everything. I'm here to just show you how I did it, and that's it. Okay, next up is Michaela Boyd, and she said, what would you say your style is for your home? And I think I've mentioned it before, but just to say, I'd probably say that my style is modern country, like modern English country is my vibe. So I just love a lot of natural light, but a lot of natural textures and a lot of wood and nothing too sort of minimal. I actually love like dressing things and lots of cushions and throws, and yeah, so that would be my style. Yeah. Oh, Jessica Boyce has asked, do you wish you waited so that you had a more cohesive vision before you started renovating? I think that's a really, really good question, because I think that people would think that I maybe think that I wish I'd waited. And in terms of like buying things and wasted time, I wish I'd waited, but I think if I had waited, I never would have learned. So trial and error has been a huge part of this. And every time that I had something arrive and it didn't work, it made me troubleshoot as to why it wasn't working. And only through understanding what works and what doesn't work have I been able to identify when something doesn't fit in my home. So admittedly, not everyone will have that luxury, but maybe hopefully through watching me, you might have learnt that the same lessons that I've learnt, and learnt about making things actually fit within your home. And now it's so weird. I almost feel like I could just do this like all the time. And I said to Ali the other day, there's no way I'll be able to stop doing this. So when we buy another house, little cheeky hint drop there, I'm going to be doing this again, and I'm going to continue doing it because I love it. Now that I found it, I love it. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't change anything that I have done in a sense of learning, but in a sense of time, yeah, it would be great to have not wasted so much time, but it's a catch-22 because I needed to do it to learn. Jenny Rosso has asked, did you worry that people online may not like your ideas? I think that if I worried like a lot about what people thought online, I would never share anything. Obviously, it's not nice when you've spent ages decorating something for someone to say, "Ew, that looks rubbish." But I also remind myself every single time I put something up and someone offers their opinion that they don't live in this home and they don't see everything in this home, so they may not fully understand. And there's simple things, even like when we put up these 3 pictures along this wall, we initially tried it with 2 and we tried it in all different ways, and this was the one way that aesthetically it really worked. Now there were a lot of opinions about how you're supposed to put pictures on the wall, but when it comes down to it, you live in your home, so you decide where things go and whether they stay like that, and it doesn't really matter about the rules. So everyone can have an opinion and that's fine, but it's only when they actually live in your space that they can get a feel for why you might have done that, and they may not understand that until they live in it, which they never will. So yeah. That's the biggest thing that I've learned, is that there's a lot of opinions online, and some of them are really, really helpful and make you think, huh, and some of them you think, no, because that just really worked for me well, and that's what matters. So we really liked these 3 pictures up here, and it definitely filled the wall space and made it a lot more interesting up there. And we put some of our lovely wedding pictures that we loved. People tell you that you can't put certain wedding pictures or like family pictures like in certain areas of the home, and I'm like, you put your pictures wherever makes you happy. And I was so shocked when someone said that to me. I was like, you mean I have to pick and choose where I put these pictures? But what about where they make me the most happiest? And at the end of the day, your environment is so important that you just have to do what makes you happy. So yeah, the opinions online, I'm able to just take them on board if they need to be taken on board, but I'm also able to identify when they just simply wouldn't understand and it's not their home. And I'm going to take one final question, which is from LauraBeth_XO, and she put, how do you design rooms? Well, I touched on this briefly, that I kind of start with a colour. That's just what works for me, and you kind of can go with whatever works for you. But I think the biggest struggle is knowing how furniture will look inside your home, and that's something that you only ever really know when it gets there, but you can plan around that. I often use Photoshop to just cut out pictures from the web or copy and paste and then put them onto a mood board. It is super easy. You just need a basic understanding of Photoshop in order to do that. You just need to watch a few tutorials on how to cut pieces out and then copy and paste them on. It's all about layering things up, and you can get obviously your paint color and put it as the backdrop. You can get a chair and a table and you can put them together and you can see if they fit. And that is something that I have been doing for a while, since before I lived here, but I must stress that I have done it a few times and items have arrived and they still don't necessarily work in this house. And it's good to take the understanding of the room first and then build around that, and you can build your mood boards around that, but just to know that it's not necessarily foolproof. And really the only way to get an idea before buying something would be to have a CAD design mocked up, and that costs quite a lot of money, I believe, from interior designers. And yeah, so that's something that I think we will do for our games room downstairs. We will definitely be having a CAD design done for that room, because it's important that we get that right, because we can't get that room wrong. That will be one of the biggest projects in this house, because that room is absolutely huge and we want a lot of built-in furniture. So we're having the bar completely redesigned. We'll obviously still be keeping it in two sections in terms of like the bar area and the cinema area, but in terms of the colours and the fabrics and the bar and the sofas, everything will be redesigned. So it's important to get that right. So we will have to spend a little bit more to ensure that we don't have to spend a lot more later, if you know what I mean. But I think that that is enough from my questions, to be honest. And also a lot of these questions have sparked a lot of ideas for me in terms of other videos I can do, whether it's down to styling videos and how I style bookcases and console tables, or lots of other ideas. So without any more questions, I hope that you've got an understanding of where I'm at and how things are getting on, any of the regrets that I have, and just generally brought you up to speed on how things are going. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that you are excited about what's to come. Does that make sense? Is that English? I hope you are excited for what's to come, and I'm still going to be sharing a lot more from my home over on my Instagram account, which is at Lydia E Millen. So no, that's not, I always do that. My Instagram for my home is Lydia Millen Home, so please do come over and follow me there, because I share so much of the house on that channel. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.